In my last video on Black Lives Matter, someone mentioned offhand how the disproportionate number of dislikes to that video says a lot. And compelled by that comment, I went to check. And after checking, I went to check other things, took some notes, ran some numbers, and I've got some things to say. In almost every single niche community here on YouTube, there has been the ongoing conversation about how BLM plays out in their respective niche communities. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of my findings. The first is BookTube. So in BookTube, I first wanted to find YouTubers with subscription counts that are comparable to the ones I then plan on talking about from our community, okay? So the first one is somebody who has over 200K subscribers in BookTube, and this person talked about BLM, made a video about Black Lives Matter, and you saw that the percentage of dislikes was 0.6%. So the proportion to dislikes to likes was 0.6% in the specific video that this 200K sub YouTuber made on BLM. Now compare that to this booktuber's most popular video on her channel, 2% dislikes. Now here's the thing, 0.6% dislikes on BLM compared to the 2% dislike ratio in the most popular video. But the subject matter of the most popular video happened to be pretty controversial in a manner of speaking. So I also wanted to look at the second most popular video, which was just a book review. And so less controversial, percentage was 1%. Now, the second booktuber I want to look at had a booktube sub of about 50K, and this person's BLM video had 1% dislike ratio. The most popular video in this person on this person's channel had a 10% dislike rate. But again, that was a unpopular opinion video. So I was like, okay, because it's an unpopular opinion video, makes a little bit more sense. Let's look at the second most popular video on this person's channel. Dislike rate is 1%. Now, I also wanted to look at a smaller channel, something around 15K subscribers in the booktuber community. The Black Lives Matter video had only a 1% dislike rate, and the most popular video on that channel had a 1% dislike rate. Now, I hope you'll remember those numbers. In the beauty YouTube world, now this is a totally different ballgame because of the number of subscribers. I didn't want to go through too much trouble and time looking for other YouTubers that I don't follow. So just bear that in mind that these numbers are wackadoodle compared to what I want to talk about. And I can't reconcile that because I didn't want to do the work. I didn't want to do the research. So I just reached for easy fruit, basically what I was already subscribed to. And you know, the beauty YouTube world is just so big that these numbers can't compare. So first I looked at a beauty YouTuber who had 5 million subscribers. Yeah, you can't even talk about those numbers in the witchy tarot pagan world, so there's no comparison. But for somebody who has 5 million subscribers, their Black Lives Matter video had a 1.2% dislike rate. Now, somebody with 13 million subscribers, their Black Lives Matter video had a 3% dislike rate. Somebody with 100K subscribers, and now you can start to actually make some comparisons to the most popular YouTubers in our community. A 100K sub rate, their Black Lives Matter video had a 2% dislike rate. I'm looking at my notes, so if you're wondering why I keep looking down, that's why I didn't memorize these numbers, and this was just done in the last hour. Literally, I did these in the last hour. So in both BookTube and in terms of the makeup YouTube world, you were looking at about 1 to 2% dislike rate for their Black Lives Matter videos, which wasn't really a significant percentage compared to their average and compared to their most popular videos on their channels. Now we get to pagan YouTube, witchy YouTube, spirituality, and this is where things start to get yee. I found a tarot witchy YouTube channel in our community who had over 200K subs. And this person made a Black Lives Matter video. There was a ratio of 61 dislikes to 1.5K likes, giving you a 4% dislike rate on their BLM video. Now, for that person's most popular video on her channel, she had a 274 to 20,000 dislike to like ratio, meaning she had a 1.37% dislike rate for her most popular video. Compare that to 4% dislike rate for her BLM video. Now her basic average, and then I looked at many of the other videos on her channel just to get a sense of her like to dislike ratio. For her basic average, she had a three times more dislikes on her BLM video than what she normally gets. So compared to what she normally gets in terms of dislikes, her Black Lives Matter video had 3 times more dislikes than her average. Just to review, in the booktube world, the booktubers, these most popular influencers, their BLM videos dislike rate compared to their basic averages for their channels, the BLM video actually had less dislikes. In the beauty YouTube world, the BLM video dislike rate compared to their basic average, no statistical significant difference. Whereas in our niche community, which professes to be spiritual, love and light, compassionate, empathic, how many people in our community are like, oh, I'm so sensitive, I'm an empath, these empaths. So in this community of empaths, we had a 3 times more dislike rate for these influencers' BLM videos than their channel's basic average. In other words, in this spiritual community of empaths, it is 3 times more offensive to them for you to be talking about how Black Lives Matter than the average conversations these big influencers are having on their channels. Compare that to the booktube community who says, if you talk about Black Lives Matter, not significantly more offensive than anything that you normally talk about on your YouTube channel. And then in the beauty community, we're also saying no significant or statistical difference in terms of offensiveness to us compared to what you normally talk about on your beauty YouTube channel. Next, I looked at somebody in our community who makes tarot, witchcraft, personal spirituality videos, and she has about 50K subscribers. She made 2 Black Lives Matters videos. Okay, so her first BLM video, it was a ratio of 76 dislikes to 509 likes. Then her second video had a ratio of 26 dislikes to 245 likes. That means BLM video number 1 had a 15% dislike rate. BLM video number 2 had a 11% dislike rate. So her average is 13% dislike rate for her BLM videos. Okay, but that doesn't mean anything if we don't have something to compare that to. So I looked for her most popular video. On her YouTube channel, her most popular video had 94 dislikes to 2,900 likes. That means on her most popular video, she had a 3.2% dislike rate. So on her most popular video, which was a little controversial in a manner of speaking, comparatively speaking, you could call it a controversial, drama-filled video. And even on that, she had a 3.2% dislike rate compared to 15% and 11% dislike rates on her BLM videos. So the 13% dislike rate on her BLM videos compared to 3.2 dislike on her most popular video, which in itself was controversial or drama-filled. Now, her basic average, meaning taking many different videos from her channel and then finding the average of many different videos, her BLM video has 7.6 times more dislikes than the dislikes that's her basic average. 7.6 times more dislikes. Head to head, a YouTuber in our community with 50K subscribers, the difference between her BLM video and her most popular video, the dislike rate, the difference is 12%. A 50K subscriber booktuber, somebody in the booktube community, the percentage difference between her Black Lives Matter video versus her most popular video, the percentage difference is 1%. Now let's look at my YouTube channel. I'm a very small YouTuber. I only have about 15K subscribers the last time I checked, which is a couple hours ago. All right, so my BLM video after 24 hours, so only after one day, had a ratio of 26 dislikes to 198 likes. That means I had a rate of 13.1% dislikes. My most popular video, which was not controversial, so that's something to also bear in mind. It was like a grimoire flip through, so very like neutral, but it had a 8 dislike to 1,800 like ratio, meaning 0.1% dislike rate. So my most popular video has a 0.1% dislike rate compared to my BLM video within 24 hours accrued a 13.1% dislike rate. The basic average on my channel in terms of the dislikes. So my BLM video has 5.4 times more dislikes than the basic average of dislikes from my YouTube channel. Now, numbers wise, purely numbers wise, statistically, my most controversial video that I've ever made on my YouTube channel was the one where I criticized Reiki. So on the video where I criticized Reiki, I had a 21 dislike to 224 like ratio, meaning my most, in the history of my YouTube channel, the most controversial video had a 9% dislike rate, which is very high compared to my 0.1% dislike rate for my most popular video. 0.1% compared to 9%. 9% reflecting my most controversial video ever, right, on anti-Reiki or criticizing Reiki. Anyway, compare that 9% to 13.1% dislike rate on my Black Lives Matter video. We all know how popular Reiki is in our niche community, how like sacred and precious Reiki is in our niche community. And when I criticized Reiki, which is considered, oh my God, blasphemy, right? 9% dislike rate compared to Black Lives Matter, 13.1% dislike rate, 13%, 9% compared to 13%. People in the spirituality community is more offended by me talking about how Black Lives Matter than when I criticize one of the most precious things in our community, Reiki. There are a couple of other points I want to bring up in terms of what has been happening in the witchy, pagan, personal spirituality, and tarot world that I have personally seen and people have talked to me about. So the first thing is there has been a record number of unsubs when tarot influencers or witchy pagan influencers online talk about BLM. So when they talk about how Black Lives Matter, they experience a record number of unsubs. Now, I want to talk about myself as a consumer, right? So I consume a lot of content on the internet and on my social media platforms, tarot, witchcraft, folk magic, obviously things like that, personal spirituality, but also in BookTube and also beauty YouTube or beauty Instagrammers, right? That means you know that the algorithms on my phone are set to show me content that the algorithm thinks that I'm going to enjoy in those categories. So when I'm looking at some of the BookTube content or book Instagram, book Twitter content that the algorithms think I will enjoy, I actually don't see a lot of all lives matter rhetoric. Yay, good news, right? But yeah, okay, I don't see a lot of that, honest to God. And also in the beauty world, I didn't see a lot of all lives matter rhetoric from the beauty Instagram or beauty content that my algorithms think I want to see. However, when it comes to tarot, personal spirituality, witchcraft, and the pagan world, I have been seeing a lot of all lives matter rhetoric. What? Another issue. I am part of so many different subcultures. You know, I am part of many, many different cliques. And in all of the cliques that I run in, the one that very noticeably has the most content on conspiracy theories around Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, and also the COVID pandemic is coming from the pagan, witchcraft, personal spirituality communities. I'm also fascinated by the presumptions implied or required at the base level for people in our community to then say things like, don't talk about politics, only talk about personal spirituality or tarot, or stay in your own lane, don't talk politics, when we talk about things like the George Floyd incident, when we talk about things related to Black Lives Matter. That's interesting to me because from my perspective, it's not a political issue, it's a human rights issue. Now, if I were to make a 12-minute video about taxation and budgeting in the US fiscal policy proposals, like, okay, if you then say, wow, that's kind of like outside of the regular wheelhouse that you roll around to, that seems kind of political for someone who likes to talk about tarot and spirituality, I'd be like, valid point. If I started talking about the US fiscal policy, taxation and spending, you're right. That's a very political issue. Kind of weird for someone like me to post a 12-minute video on my YouTube channel. Give you that 1,000%. But as someone who obviously has this branding and point of view and platform around spirituality, for me to talk about human rights, isn't that pretty normal? Like, how is that outside of my wheelhouse? That seems like something very necessary for somebody who's interested in spirituality and compassion, love and light, all that stuff. If these are the things that are building the pieces of my platform and I don't talk about human rights issues, that seems more weird than talking. What? To be objective and fair, I'll give you a very right-wing example, right? So let's say an evangelical Christian church pastor talks about abortion. I don't think that's political, no matter what my feelings are. It doesn't matter. This has nothing to do with me. I'm just saying somebody who is an evangelical Christian leader, thought leader, or influencer of some kind, somebody whose YouTube channel is completely premised around evangelical Christianity. If they talk about abortion, I wouldn't be like, stay in your own lane. That's political. Like, that makes sense to me because within the scope of their belief systems and doctrine, it's for them a human rights issue. It's for them not a political issue. So I would totally get it. I would never be like, stay in your own lane, right? So I feel like even when I'm trying to be objective, even when I'm trying to play devil's advocate, right? For somebody in our community to talk about Black Lives Matter, it seems like the most ordinary, obvious, reasonable, within scope thing. So why is that a political issue outside of our wheelhouse? I don't get it. This was a very spur of the moment, off the cuff video. And so I don't have any conclusions. I don't even know what I think of all this. I haven't processed it yet. I'm still processing it. So no conclusions. Instead, I would like to throw the ball in your court. What do you make of all of this? No, seriously, what are your thoughts and impressions, conclusions, inductions, deductions after hearing everything I've said? I would love to hear your perspective, really, because what you have to say to me is going to help me process all of this.